what we'll do now is we'll do the search and rescue little exercise.
I have seen my favorite part on this whole thing. It's under recognizing a heart attack, and the last one is denial of signals or symptoms. It's like you have all of these things, but you refuse to acknowledge that you have it, therefore you're having it. I love that.
Actually, well, yeah, that's one interpretation, but really what it's referring to is that the individual who is really having a heart attack will completely be in denial. And that is one of our worst offenses, our meaning human beings. We are so good at denial.
No, that can't be happening.
So good at it. Yeah, can't be. I'm healthy. I don't have any history, no heredity, blah blah blah. And too bad. You know, oftentimes it turns into something much worse than it had to be. If you get a pain, chest pain, short of breath, and there's really no reason for it, and it's something that you've never experienced before, something that really scares you, you know what? Just go or call. Don't take the chance. You know, it's not worth it. And the hardest part of this is that most of us will go, hey, I don't want to go to the emergency room because it's going to be about a 6-hour ordeal because it's so crowded. Let me just say this. When you go, they will triage you. And they will make the determination whether it's an emergency or not. If you say you have chest pain and you're short of breath, they'll take your vitals and stuff, but they won't fiddle around with it. You'll go right in. Okay? So that's just something to keep in mind. So don't let it deter you. I mean, it is rather inconvenient to have to spend that much time. But you know what? It is what it is. We have a lot of people, and we have a lot of hospitals that have closed down, and we just have a lot, the population just keeps growing. So you just got to deal with it. Or call us. We'll come. This is a triangular bandage. Okay? No, but you can't guess why.
Headband. No. Pull your hair out of the way.
Equilateral.
Just around the block.
Okay, it's a triangular bandage. You use these as a sling. You take the short end, the pointed end, make a knot, like so. Did you come up there? No, turn around, face your friends. If we're going to put a sling on this arm, thank you, Vanna. Oh, man. The knot goes behind the elbow. One part of the bandage goes in front of the arm, and the other one goes against the chest. Okay? And then you're going to tie this behind the neck. And don't put the knot right behind the neck, because if they lay down, it will be uncomfortable. And tighten a bow. Come back in front, and make sure that you have the entire arm supported with the fingertips exposed so that you can do capillary refill, and we call it PMS, for pulse, motor, and sensory. So you can check the pulse at the wrist, you can ask them to wiggle their fingers for the motor, and sensory, can you feel this? And you're checking for the temperature of the fingers. Okay? Sling, very simple. If there's a shoulder injury, take another one of these, and this becomes a swap. It goes under the good arm and down close to the elbow. And this immobilizes the shoulder. So, it eliminates her ability to really move that arm out. Because that's what's going to hurt that particular type. And it's really hard to splint a shoulder injury. Right? So typically the rule is to immobilize the joint site of the injury. So if it's a fracture here, immobilize the wrist and the elbow. If it's the upper arm, it's the elbow and the shoulder. If it's the thigh, it's the hip and the knee. If it's the lower leg, it's the knee and the ankle. That's kind of the rule of thumb. Okay? Is anything in here?
Backboard.
Yeah. You'd be talking ribs, right? Because the rest is just organs, right? So backboard. And typically with a rib thing, you don't need a backboard if that's isolated. But if you had a pillow or something, a blanket, and they can hold on to it and press it against them, that seems to help a lot because it's a little bit of a pressure against it, and it just helps, and it doesn't let it expand too far. Okay? So obviously, in the reality, okay, after a big disaster, we all congregated here. If I was able to get here, then I would get everyone together that had CERT training, and then to figure out what we got going on. If we know we have trapped and injured victims, then we're going to set up accordingly, break people up. But in reality, what I'd do is I'd take part of you and I'd say, okay, these 5 people are going to be in the medical group, and these 5 people are going to be in the search and rescue group, and then we got to start teaming you up so you have some personnel, right? So that's kind of what we're looking at right here. We have 10 victims that are scattered. I told them not to pick any injuries that are really bad, right? So like, you know, they'll say they have a broken arm or a broken leg, something like that. So it isn't going to be anything where you're going to have to figure out how to hoist them and lift them and carry them. That's not the intent. The intent is just to practice going through this process. So if this were the beginning of getting into this building, then some of the things that I want to make sure that you remember to look for are the 704 diamond placards, right? And this does not tell us what's in it, but it tells us how dangerous whatever is in that building could be to us as rescuers. Now, the kind of the rule is anything greater than a 1 after a disaster, as a CERT person, you would not want to go into that building if there were a lot of chemicals in there. Because when you get into these higher numbers, it is required that you have self-contained breathing apparatus and certain, you know, types of clothing that you don't have. So we always maintain your safety and say that if it's anything greater than a 1, you would not want to go in. Over at the brewery, you're going to see an A because people live there after hours. We need to know that because if we come in at 2 o'clock in the morning, we know we have a potential life safety issue, not just a fire problem.
And A means after hours?
A means artisan.
Oh.
So somebody lives in. Okay? Now, you could see a J for jeweler. That's important because they use anhydrous cyanide for cleaning. Potential problem. You could see a W with a line through it, which means you don't want to use water when you're fighting this fire or whatever it is, right? Not that that necessarily pertains to you, but I just want to kind of give you a little education. Or you could see OXY for oxidizer. You could see COR for corrosive. Okay, so it kind of helps give us some information as to what we're dealing with.
What are the blue and the red and the
Okay,
yellow?
so the red is flammability.
Okay.
Okay, the blue is for health, and the yellow is reactivity.
Okay.
So in other words, depending upon whatever those substances are, here's an example. If you had a 2 in the blue for health, that means that it's hazardous. Okay? If it was a 3, it's extreme danger. Well, I don't know about you guys, but if I were just a civilian, extreme danger is I'm not going in. Right? You also see placarding on gas trucks and transportation vehicles that carry. So 1203 gasoline, whether you know that or not, you know that you see it on the back of those gas trucks. You see it every day. You see it on the back or front and all 4 sides. So if that thing flips, no matter what direction, you should be able to figure out how bad or how important or how dangerous that substance is. Okay? Once you hit those areas where those victims potentially are, somebody, the leader, the group leader for each half, you guys can decide who you want that to be, you would say, if you can hear my voice, walk this way. That gets all your walking wounded people out. So anyone who's coherent enough to understand that message Anyone who's able of getting up and walking out, we call those the walking wounded. Anyone who does not, then we know that we need to assist them further. So, and by colors, when you go through that CERT program, remember the minor are green, the delayed are yellow when we tag them, the immediates are red, and the dead are DEAD, okay, with black tag, if we use the tags. And I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you, but.
What training is first aid? So, you're on this?
Well, it's just I figured they were hurting there.
Okay.
Emergency response team, is anyone hurt? Somebody may be there.
Sir, did you hear us? Sir.
Check his airway. Check his pulse. Tell me your name. Said you two, go down, tell them we have an unresponsive male, and we need assistance. Sir, my name's Beauty. We got help on the way.
So there's no clear further data.
Hang in there.
Since this is an obvious thing, we'll obviously check and see if he's breathing and all the rest of it. So he's breathing. So obviously he's moaning. He's got a pulse.
He's not very responsive.
He's not responsive.
Okay.
Medical team.
So stabilize this, then start doing a head to toe.
Right. He's got an obvious injury.
Okay, so obviously he's groaning here. So there's obviously another probably broken bone.
Right.
And
So if you
his whole arm. Yeah, so his whole arm is.
Right. So you suspect he's got a broken bone because he reacted when you squeezed his arm. A good thing to do is check his capillary in his fingers.
So how would you suggest this gets stabilized then? Because obviously, like, he's either impaled by it or, I mean, like.
Okay, so he's kind of reacting here. Yeah, so perhaps another broken bone here. 2 days. They say it's all of LA in a situation like this where.
So you make them as comfortable as you can, and
none
because
of us are surgeons.
that's right.
Now, with since there'd be 5 of us, would one of us stick around with this guy?
Well, that's a good question, Stacey.
You got a team of 5, and they need to go search for more people. Would it be wise to have one person stay with, the victim?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I'd stick by your side, my pokey friend, and see if you need anything else. Which means his heart is definitely beating. We know he's alive. He's breathing. Unresponsive.
He's unresponsive. Okay. He's got this big thing.
want to roll this off?
He did wag his finger at me. No. So I'm assuming that is.
Wow.
Somewhat responsive.
That's a commitment.
And that would be a source.
Wow, this looks more real than anything.
And if you checked his perfusion there in his finger, that would tell you kind of his overall condition, or you might have a broken arm or something as a result of that thing landing on him.
Right. So.
Is this the thing where you don't want to remove the heavy object because
Yeah,
all the
we were
blood
just
can flush back in?
Yeah,
and
we were
stuff?
just saying that if we had no idea, well, if it's a moderately damaged building and we don't have the luxury of staying inside, we don't have time outside. Once we ascertain that he's breathing, he comes out, which means that we have to take that object out. If it's a lightly damaged and we have time, we can stay here, then we really don't want to move that until we can probably stabilize him with an IV and stuff, right?
Okay.
Because once we lift that, that's that crush injury. So if it's been there for a long time, what happens is it's stopping the circulation below. And then while all that time is going by, toxins are building up in the system. So that's the whole thing with crush injury, is that once you release that pressure, then all of those toxins have free flow and they flush through the body and probably kill them.
It looks like we have a very large pry bar in the right side of the chest cavity. Okay.
right, I'm going to check your pulse, sir. So first thing I'm going to do is find the carotid arteries.
He is.
All right.
Hello, you can hear my voice, walk this way.
Okay, you want to move down to this side? Okay, so it's your femur. How about down here?
Yes.
Okay.
It hurts.
Can you wiggle your toes?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Wiggle these toes?
No.
No? Okay. This leg here. Can you wiggle these toes? You can. Okay, great. So I would say we've got a broken arm, possible broken femur. We want to probably splinter.
Just keep that right where it's at, because that's going to be the most stable position.
We had a specific question for a victim who was complaining of pain and injury on one side, and then said they were having difficulty breathing, and then there was some question as to do you move them, or do you stabilize them, what do you do? So part of the scenario is this: if the building or the structure that you're in is lightly damaged, then everything can be done inside of the building as far as medical stuff. So in other words, you find them, you stabilize them, you can treat them in that building. In a moderately damaged building where you're concerned with the integrity of the structure, you find them, if they're breathing, you get them out. Because the idea is that if we had an aftershock, the building could come down, there could be further damage, right? That is determined from the outside when you send a team around to do what we call a lap around the building. And at the time you do the lap around the building, you take care of utilities shut off and so on. You look for any other hazards that are not obvious from the front side or the direction in which you approach the building. Second thing, for instance, if you saw smoke coming from the building, you may see it coming from the southeast corner, but when you do the lap around, you also notice that it's on the southwest corner as well, which might tell you that that whole back end of the building is on fire. So that's why you do that size up, we call it. It's a fact gathering process. And based on how you deem that structure to be, you instruct those search and rescue teams accordingly. You go in, you find the victim, if they're breathing, you get them out. Right then and right there. You don't wait, go look for somebody else, and then go back. You get them out because the idea is you can save them.
The other question I kind of had was, when you come across someone that's immediate, do you help them right there, or do you go on and try to find anyone else that could also be immediate?
Okay, so triage. The first thing you do is triage. You find that victim is immediate. Either they're breathing greater than 30 breaths a minute, their capillary refill was greater than 2 seconds, or they didn't follow the simple command. You treat them for shock, and off you go. And you tag them. Okay? Now if you don't have a tag, use a piece of tape, put a big capital I, and off to the next person you go. In a moderately damaged building, you get that person out. In a lightly damaged, you tag them, and you go around. Now, also what we would do is we would designate a medical treatment area. Okay? So if in that moderately damaged building, we know we're going to have people that are hurt and injured, right? So we have to have people outside to figure out where we're going to set up the medical treatment area. Where's the best place? No overhead hazards, easy access, not too far from the building. And so, easy access for transportation. Now, consider the parking lot, right? If you come in off of Main Street there, and you want to kind of circle around and make it easier to pick up a patient and then circle back out, and then, that other gate, we could open up that other gate. But those are things you always have to keep in mind as well.
Right, and there was also a note about not, if they're thirsty, not giving them anything to drink.
Nothing to drink.
Right.
Why is that?
Well, because the idea is you're not sure when you're going to be able to get them out, but typically if you're thinking if it's anything serious and they're potentially going to have surgery, they never want us to have anything in their stomach. And you don't want to run the risk of having any airway issues. makes your job harder.
Okay.
The arm injury, I'm not so concerned with, right? I'm concerned with the neck and back. If they're disoriented and I have to leave them, I'm going to base putting them in the shock position on what? Respiration, perfusion, and the mental status value. If they're disoriented and they don't respond to that simple command, and by the way, the simple command is not who's the president, who's the secretary of defense. The simple command is squeeze my hand. Okay? If they can't respond to that, you need to put them in the shock position. Given that they were already in a seated position, I would quickly do the check of the back and then lay them down. I don't have to worry about it because I've already looked at it, right? So you got to think about what is easiest for you. Do the things that are easy for you. Don't make your job harder than it is. Get to what you can get to, what's exposed, in the event that you have to change that. And then treat it accordingly. Listen, you guys, I'm going to tell you this, you already know this. You're going to save some people, and you're going to lose some people. Bottom line. Some people are going to make it, and some people aren't. Bottom line. You do the best you can with what you got. You always err on the side of safety. Don't ever lie to your patient. Okay?
Well said.
Patient says, am I going to die? No. Don't say yes. Even if you think they are. Say, you know what? We're here. We've got a lot of people here. This is what we're going to do. We're going to stay with you. We're going to do the best we can. Because the bottom line is, if they do die, they're not going to know. Right? So why put them in the mindset? Leave a light with them. A snap light, cellular light, anything. Because what does it do? It helps them. It doesn't make them feel so alone. It gives them that little hope that, hey, you know what? They obviously must be coming back. They left the light to mark where I am. Rather than, don't worry about it, I'll find you. Well, it's a lot different, isn't it? I mean, if I were, helping any of you guys and it was dark and cold and no one else was around, and I said, don't worry about it, man, I got a GPS. It's like, yeah, right. That's a lot different than leaving you with something that I can definitely come right back and find you.
What's your triage time again? I mean, you see somebody, you give that...
About 10 seconds.
About 10 seconds.
For each person. Head tilt, chin lift, look, listen, and feel. Are they breathing greater than 30 or less than 30? Capillary refill, less than 2 seconds, greater than 2 seconds. Do they follow the simple command? Done. Answer no to any of those, immediate, off you go. Treatment for shock, and off you go to the next person. Well, greatest good for the greatest number. Greatest good for the greatest number. No, it's a good question. Get to that first person, they're not breathing. Let's say they're face down. You gotta roll them over, right? You can't do a head tilt chin lift with them face down. You gotta roll them over. Head tilt chin lift, they don't breathe, they're dead. You try to reposition the head 2 times. Give them the benefit of the doubt. If they don't breathe after the second time, you tag them dead. The only time that changes is if you have more rescuers than victims and you're going to go ahead and try to do CPR. But the truth of the matter is the CPR really is not done in disaster situations. It's not easy, is it? It's not. It's not easy. Now, the one thing about the CERT training, see, that's unique, is that every individual goes through the same modules of training, right? You all went through fire suppression, medical, search and rescue, incident command. So you could be in charge of any of those. In a lightly damaged building, search and rescue people can come in, do triage, tag them, right? After that, you can send the medical folks in, or just take your search and rescue folks and come up with a transport team, and then they can move all your immediates to one area, your relates to another, and so on. In the scenario you described, in a moderately damaged building, once you figure out they're breathing, you can send that message to the medical MASH unit and say, hey, we're bringing out an immediate, okay? So that you need to know where to take them. That's the communication piece that has to happen. In a moderately damaged building, if you dispatch search and rescue, you gotta know you're gonna have medical people, right? You have to know you're gonna come across injured victims. So with that in mind, get the medical treatment area set up. Get people assigned to set that up. And who needs to know where those things are located? Well, the search and rescue folks definitely, because they're going to bring the victims to you, and the incident commander needs to know. So it's all about communication.
Documentation, whiteboarding.
Yeah.
And it seems like the damage to the building is the ultimate mitigating factor as to what your decision is.
Yes, it is. Because why is that? Because it's about your safety.
Right.
Remember, who's the most important person? You are. Remember that little symbol, the asterisk, and then the number 1 next to it? And I told you, you have 1 asterisk. Keep that in mind. Well, you can make notations on paper. You as a rescuer. You know.
You could also mark on the walls.
Yeah, mark on the wall. Well, on the outside of the building, but on the outside of the building, there are markings that get done. If it's a lightly damaged, it's an open box. If it's a moderately damaged, it's a box with a slash through it. Okay? And if it's a heavy damage, it's a box with an X, which you don't go in anyway, so it doesn't matter. But when you come out, after you search that thing, if you didn't find anybody, you just put the date, your team, the area searched, and if you left any victims in that. So the only time you would ever have to mark that is if you left. You don't take dead people out. There's no reason. Sounds like the phone. There's no reason to take dead people out of the building.
You mark that they're there.
You mark that they're there. Right. Yeah, if you exit a building to go get more help and there's still victims, live victims in there, you don't complete your markings because you're not done. And if another team comes in behind you, they need to know that there's a search in progress going on in that building. It depends. If I'm not familiar with the building, then we do what we have. Like I said, we'll take some teams, we'll go right, and we'll take some and go left until we've been able to search the entire building, up and down as well.
Considering how little time most of us spend in big buildings, except for those of us here, household environments probably are the bulk of your time, smaller. I guess there's office buildings, but that's another big different thing, because you have no windows, most of the things are interior.
House?
I'm just realizing that the people that work in regular jobs in a more like an office building, that's really going to be peculiar, because multi-floor, you're 4, 5, 6,
well,
10
this is what we always say, is if you work in a high-rise building, you frequent high-rise buildings, you stay in a hotel, whatever, the bottom line is this: when you get into that building, there's a few things you need to do before you just go up the elevator, get in your room, and go, hee, I'm on vacation. Number 1 is, when you get out of the elevator, count how many doors from the stairwell your room is. Secondly is, because in the event of a disaster, you're not using the elevator, you're using the stairs. Figure out where those 2 stairwells are and where they're going to take you if you had to use them. Where do they exit the building? So you're not so disoriented, God forbid you had to do that and you came out and you totally are lost as to where you're located. Okay, those are things that we should be doing right away. And just know you're not using the elevator in the event of disaster.
So what floor do you stay on?
I don't stay above the 7th floor. Because the aerial ladder is only 100 feet. If you're 12 feet floor, you have to account for any overhangs or anything in the front. I don't stay on the 1st floor either, because if it's a bomb, pretty much the first floor's gone. When I fly, I always carry a writing pen, in case I don't get lucky enough to get in the exit aisle. It's risk management. If I don't trust the person in the exit aisle, I know I can stab them in the carotid artery, they bleed to death, throw them out of the way, and I get out. It's risk management.
I'd be really surprised if they don't accept you in the Homeland Security program.
And anyway, a lot of stuff we covered today, I know. And it's great that you guys came. I really appreciate you giving up your Saturday because you want to spend it with me. And we will do more. We will do more training. We will do more classes.
I've had a lot of people that didn't take the cert that asked when we were going to do that again.
Yeah, it's, you know, I would probably have to tell you, we got to get it in sooner than later.
Before school?
Because it gets harder to do as the year goes on and stuff. But yeah, another Saturday, Sunday, I think, because that worked out really well.
It did.
Yeah, and we certainly get a larger group when we do it that because everybody's more excited about getting rid of it in 2 days instead of 7 weeks. Oh yeah. And by the way, just so you guys know, those of you who have the internet, we have cert-la.com, and our schedule of current classes is listed there under current trainings on the left-hand side. It'll pull up the calendar for you.
Cert hardware, backpack purchases.
SOS Survival Products is in Van Nuys. I know there's other ones. I always use them because the guys are really great. They'll give you 10% off. His name is Jeff Edelstein. One thing I would highly recommend in your first aid, with your first aid stuff, is have Benadryl. Because you know, if you have an allergic reaction to anything, Benadryl over the counter, one of the best things that you could get on board right away to help counteract, you know, any allergy that you might have. Yeah, change your clothes.
It doesn't matter what it looks like as long as it's in.
Walking shoes versus funny, fancy 3-inch spike heels.
Yeah.
Hiking boots in my car.
I keep tennis shoes in my car and at
Closed
work.
toed shoes. Oh, the toilet paper. Don't forget the toilet paper. Baby wipes, right? I mean, think of the the things that are important.
So this kind of represents the basic first aid training what we kind of did this morning, like kind of the basic.
Yes,
Red
that's
Cross.
basic first aid.
What's
Red
what's
Cross.
kind of next? Where
There's
can we go?
wilderness first aid. There's EMT. There's first responder. Now you're looking at, now you're getting into 80 hours, 100 hours. So,
Community
wilderness
college.
Wilderness first aid is a pretty good class. Valley College has a good EMT program.
Doesn't
And
LACC?
Mount Sac has one. Some of the community colleges, you just have to Google it and find out.
I think LACC does too.
LA City, yeah.